Hello ladies, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Aisha. I'm a certified trauma-informed coach and holistic healer, and I am on a mission to help 1 million women become their most confident and successful selves. Today is a video I have been so excited to make, and that is everything I learned about manifestation in the last 2 years. So if you don't know, I have been a coach in the manifestation space since 2021. I got really into manifestation. I read a few books that really helped me on my personal development, and those books were essentially a lot of the same framework as manifestation. And then I found law of attraction, did my deep dive, did my research, really studied, really embodied it, started teaching it, started using it to build my business. And in 2023, January of 2023, I actually found law of assumption. So it was maybe a year and a half of using law of attraction to manifest before I found law of assumption. And when I found law of assumption, I definitely resonated with it more than law of attraction, but I was still a little bit confused. I don't think it really clicked for me like deeply until fall of 2023. And then even from there, from the embodiment work and implementing of law of assumption, I've had so many evolutions like in that time frame that I've learned so much about manifesting in general. And that's what this video is going to be. It's going to be let me adjust my camera a little bit. It is going to be all about the lessons that I learned, the most like shocking things, the most impactful things. Like, it's not just going to be about the techniques and stuff. But I wanted to share this because when I came to law of assumption, knowing law of attraction, I was so confused. I was like, I've been high vibe, I've been doing the positivity, I've been reaching for better thoughts. I did all the mindset work, and I had this feeling of like, I'm doing all of this spiritual stuff, I'm leaning in to the shadow work, I'm asking myself really deep, profound, transformative questions. I'm getting answers to those questions, but once I get to the root cause, like once I know that that's my belief, I'm still stuck with it. Like, it's like I became really hyper aware of what I was struggling with, and just didn't have the tools to really like fix it, to really address those beliefs. So it led to me feeling frustrated and confused, mass consuming manifestation content, like searching for all the self-help resources that I could find, and ultimately like I felt like my head was spinning. I was just going around in circles over and over again, and not really finding any answers. So when I stumbled upon law of assumption, I was like, okay, this makes sense though, because all of the stuff I've been doing with law of attraction and all of the beliefs I have surrounding law of attraction and what doesn't feel in alignment anymore is showing up more and more in my 3D. And this framework makes way more sense. So then I started to, again, study, deep dive into it, and implement and practice it. And I was like, oh, that's why law of attraction is not working for me, because it's not quite there. So if you don't know this, Abraham Hicks or Esther Hicks worked with I think Rhonda Burns wrote The Secret. So she worked with her. The Secret is basically based off of like Esther Hicks' work. But for marketing reasons, Esther didn't want to be attached to The Secret and all that. And yeah, so like all of that trending manifestation stuff, like in the early days of The Secret, like that was very woo-woo bandwagon. Like, let's generate a lot of buzz, let's generate a lot of excitement and enticement and motivate people in this way. And by no means am I saying that that's a bad thing. That's kind of what every practitioner does. They put their own spin on things and they sell to a specific audience. And I fully believe that Esther Hicks and her husband Jerry Hicks were intentionally trying to help people. I totally believe that, because even though the law of attraction framework can be misused and it can be a little bit misguided and it can be a little bit blurry sometimes. Fundamentally, it is law of assumption. It's just made a little more woo-woo. It's marketed differently. And as a logical, science-backed person, I struggled when I would get to a certain point in my manifesting and the science didn't align with the woo. So when I found law of assumption, that's why things clicked for me, because I'm like, I am just too logical and practical of a thinker. I'm too logic-based and grounded in facts and reality as we know it. I like the data, I like the numbers, I like the psychology, the biology, the neuroscience of things. I like understanding on a fundamental level from that perspective. And the framework for law of attraction just wasn't attached to science the way that law of assumption is. So whatever method works for you, or with whatever belief system works for you, it's going to work for you because you assume it works. So if you assume law of attraction works for you, then it's going to work for you, and that's totally fine. But what I figured out is it didn't work for me. It worked here and there, it was inconsistent. I would try to be high vibe and it just wouldn't, I couldn't stay high vibe, and then I would get into these like shame spirals of not manifesting because I assumed that because I'm not being high vibe, I'm sabotaging my manifestation. So number one thing I learned in the last 2 years of law of assumption, manifesting with law of assumption, is that your emotions are not what manifest. You can feel like garbage. You can feel like a terrible person. You can feel like your world is caving in on you. You can feel like you're doing literally everything wrong. And yet you can affirm and persist. You can continue to script and visualize, and you will still get your desire. Okay, when I manifested my husband, I was not mentally well in terms of like safety, security within myself. Like I was in a chapter of transition in my life. I took a lot of bold, courageous moves. Like I moved states for the first time by myself. I didn't have money. I didn't have a job. I didn't have a place to stay when I moved up here. So I did not have any logic to ground me in that vision. I didn't have any surefire things I could rely on. I didn't have family or friends supporting me financially at that time, or like physically there. I pretty much distanced myself from everybody in that chapter of my life. So my nervous system was not in a safe space. It was very scared. I was emotionally dysregulated because of how scary that was. Like it was a stretching experience, okay? I met my edge and I was stretching and stretching and stretching and growing, and thankfully I became the version of myself that I am, but that was a big squeeze for me. And the other thing is, I was working on my self-development, my self-care, my self-concept, having a positive attitude, but if I reflect on that time in my life, my emotional state was like this, okay? Was not consistent. I was on a roller coaster. I'd be like up and down and up and down and up and down, okay? There was no consistency there, but what was consistent is my faith. And that is the second lesson that I learned with law of assumption is you have to be as consistent as you can be with your faith. Because here's the thing, once I got my partner, my faith wavered. I became like, all the healing work I thought I did about relationships got triggered. And I was like, oh, I'm not as securely attached as I thought I would be. This is a whole new ball game. And I had to work through triggers. I had to work through anxiety. Like there would be times that he would go out and he wouldn't text me right away, and like the panic would set in because of my relationship trauma, my relationship stories, both from childhood and my family members' experiences, as well as my own personal experiences. Because for those of you who don't know, I'm a revert, so I had relationships prior to my husband that were really emotionally scarring, and even though I did a ton of work before meeting my husband, those triggers came up hard. They came up really, like I was being tested and life was throwing hands and I learned how to, dodge and fight back a little bit. And eventually what got me through was that consistency. I was like, you know what? I don't care. I don't care if we're arguing. I don't care if I'm seeing this in the 3D. I don't care. Like, I just was like, this is what I want. I want this man. This is my man. This is my person. and I'm gonna be stubborn about that. And that is the third lesson that I've learned, is you have to have brazen impudence, as Neville Goddard calls it. You have to basically just say, I don't care what reality is showing me. This is what I want. This is my story, and this is what I'm sticking to, and nothing and no one is going to shake me from that. And I don't care if the 3D is showing me the exact opposite. And I say this like, we have broken up before. We're still here, okay? Hello, I just affirm and persist. I deny my senses. I deny this reality in favor of the one I've created inside of my mind, in my imagination, and I live there until the reality conforms. And that's what we mean by persist. Is I used to think persist just meant like keep cramming affirmations down your throat, like keep forcing yourself to script. Like, you know how when you go on a diet and you have to be super strict, and then like the minute you're not strict on the diet, you gain all the weight back? Or like, you know, same thing with a workout routine. Like you're like really stuck to this rigid workout routine, and then you get bored and fall off, and then you gain the weight back. It's kind of like that. I thought I had to be so strict and so locked in with my mental diet, and really you don't. You just have to keep getting back on the horse every time you fall off. So that, I guess, is number 4, is like, you only stop manifesting what you desire when you quit. If you quit and give up, guess what? You're going to get more of the same. And that is in itself lesson number 5, which is that like we're already manifesting. We already have been. It is our default setting. Manifestation in French is defined as demonstration. So it translates to demonstration. And I love this definition because it perfectly illustrates what manifestation means. This world is a demonstration of our faith, of our assumptions, of our belief. So because I believe certain things to be true about the world, right? I believe I have to breathe oxygen to be alive. I believe that I have to eat food and drink water to nourish my body. I believe I have to get restful sleep, or otherwise I'll go crazy. I believe that I live in a world as an interdependent species, so I need the safety and security of human interaction to make myself feel happy and healthy and whole, for at least, you know, a good period of time. Yes, we can go into solitude in certain chapters. That's a story for another day. But in general, we are an interdependent species, meaning I'm not growing my own food and building my own cars and, you know, soldering my cell phone parts, and I'm not doing all of that stuff. I need other people to do that for me. Like, I didn't knit this. I didn't weave this fabric. You know, I am happy to live in an interdependent world the way that we do, because it's more fun that way, it's more exciting that way, and it's less pressure and less stress, because then I just get to do what makes me feel good. And that's lesson number 6, is manifestation should feel good, because for one, it's naturally occurring, you're already doing it. And if you're already naturally doing it, it shouldn't stress you out. Like, do you get stressed out about breathing? And I'm not talking about when you have anxiety, okay? That's a different story. When you're experiencing anxiety, emotional dysregulation, or nervous system dysregulation, yeah, or some other health issue, like, yeah, you're probably gonna have a hard time breathing consistently. It's gonna feel hard. But in general, for most of the population, most of our lives, we're cool. We just breathe and our body does its thing. It's sort of like the same thing, like if you got a paper cut, you don't have to look at your finger and go heal it, heal it, heal it, heal it, heal it, heal it, heal it. Your body just automatically does the healing work for you. So make it fun. It should be fun. It should be playful. Like, the techniques shouldn't feel like a chore. They should feel like, oh, this is so exciting. Like earlier today, I wrote a little scripting post of like the manifestation I am working on right now that I'm calling forth into my reality, and I wrote it as if I'm writing it today and plan to post it in the future. And basically, like, I wrote, like, I did it. I manifested it. It's a success story post. I'm writing it today, but for my future self. I hope that makes sense. So yeah, make it fun. The other thing that I realize is you don't manifest, this is lesson number 7 I think we're on, you don't manifest what you want. You don't manifest like fleeting desires. You manifest the thing that you're like, I have to have this. And if you just like have a passing fancy and then forget about it, you probably don't have a strong desire for it. And that strong desire creates a strong intention. So, you know, right now I am working on my fitness. I had a baby, so my body changed. I'm changing it back. Super simple. My desired reality, like the version of me in my head, like in order to bring her into this reality, I talk to myself with intention. I look at myself in the mirror with the intention of like, I'm seeing that version of me in my reflection, even if my reflection doesn't show it. And that's the other one I guess we can count as lesson number 8 is deny reality. Deny it, deny it, deny it, deny it, deny it. I don't care if everything around you seems like it's on fire, falling down, earthquake, tsunami, volcano, eruption, forest fire, rampaging through your life. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care if you are in a abusive situation. I don't care if your parents are horrible to you. I don't care if your friends are horrible to you, your family is horrible to you. I don't care if your boss is horrible to you. I don't care if the circumstances are so painful or dire. You can and you will manifest yourself out of that if that's what you want. But you do have to stick to it. You do have to live in the end. And that's the other thing I learned. So we're on lesson number 9. Living in the end. What does this actually mean? No, this does not mean being delulu. It can in the beginning. In the beginning, yeah, it's gonna feel like, oh yeah, I'm so rich when you're living with your parents and you have tons of credit card debt and you are still having people take you places in their car because you don't have one, right? Okay, been there before. It's not about necessarily denying the reality in order to feel like it's already done. Instead, and I know this can be kind of confusing because yes, you should deny reality in favor of your own internal world, but living in the end is less about pushing away the undesired reality and more about embodying and grounding the desired reality. And that distinction, I hope it makes sense. So they're sort of like two sides of the same coin. We can look at it as being delusional, as denying reality, because if reality is uncomfortable, if it's triggering, if it's annoying, like why do we want to spend our energy there? We don't have to. We can choose to redirect our thoughts, our focus. But it's where we redirect our thoughts and focus that matters the most. So when you're saying to yourself, it's already done, I don't care if what you see is so starkly the opposite. Let's say you weigh like 300 pounds, or for me in my case, I was 222 at my highest. My goal weight right now is just get back to pre-pregnancy, which is 140. When I step on the scale, if it doesn't say 140, I don't care. I take a mental note, okay, here's how far I think I am. In reality, I acknowledge it, and I go, but actually, husband came home. Anyways, where was I? Okay, so it's less about denying reality, pushing away those circumstances, and like, I'm not going to look at the scale and like stare at it and go, oh, you say 140 now. You say 140 now. Like, no. But what I'm going to do is, okay, acknowledge, if I'm at 156, I'm going to put that scale away. And then I'm going to look at myself in the mirror and I'm going to go, dang, 140 looks good on me. I look so good now that I'm 140 pounds. Like, because I cannot deny the reality of what the scale says, but I can brainwash myself in the mirror to see my reflection and just imagine, picture myself, this is what 140 looks like. Like, and if it's really far from reality, you don't have to actually physically look in the mirror either. I'm at a weight where like the difference between 156 and 140 on my body is very minimal. Like, you can't really tell unless you know my body really in detail. So I'm able to convince myself when I look in the mirror, oh, 140 looks great on me. I look fabulous. I feel so good. I'm so healthy. Like, gosh, it was so easy to lose the weight. I can say all the affirmations and it's not fighting. The reality is not fighting from my desired reality. And the other thing is, like, if reality is too stark of a contrast, just do it in your head. Just plant those seeds in your head. Plant those seeds in your head. And in meditation, in visualization, get really into a dreamy state when you script, or like when you're just doing some nonchalant activities, driving, washing dishes, like scrubbing your hair in the shower, shaving your legs, whatever you gotta do. When you're in that state where like your logical brain is kind of shut off, it's kind of like in a hazy, dreamy state, that's when you can do those techniques and really like live it, feel it, embody it. Like feel it real doesn't necessarily mean you have to emotionally be attached to it, but it's like if you close your eyes and imagine holding a tennis ball and smelling it, like you can feel the fuzzies, and if you like can see the color green in your eyes, you can see the little textures, you can smell the rubber. Like I don't have to be holding an actual real life tennis ball to make that feel like a real exercise. Excuse me. So that's the other thing is, I did already mention emotions don't manifest, but here's what I really learned. This is number 10, is feel it real, and like embodying it means using all of your senses in imagination. So you want to leverage the senses that you do have in real life. So let's say your ideal self wears a certain perfume and you can afford to buy that perfume right now. That's one way that you can blur the lines of reality to make it feel real. But if, for example, you cannot blur the lines of this reality, the 3D, and your imagined reality, what you can do is blur the line in imagination. So integrating in imagination real things that you have. Like let's say you have a certain phone case, okay? And I'm gonna go back to this like physical appearance example because I do have a lot of subscribers and people who watch this channel who desire to change their physical appearance. If you have really short hair, or you know, you're not at your ideal weight, or you don't have like your ideal features, whatever, but you have a phone case that you like, I want you to imagine yourself taking a selfie with the actual real life phone case that you have today, but instead the selfie is the version of you want to see, right? So as much as we can use our imaginal senses and bring them to life, like the more detail you can put into your scripting and your visualizations and your like state akin to sleep meditations or inner conversations, like the more real you can make your imagination feel, the more effective it will be, because our imagination, our subconscious mind, does not know the difference between imagination and reality. And how do we know this? We know this because anxiety is real fear about something that doesn't exist in the outside world, either because it hasn't happened yet, or even if it's happened before. Like let's say you've been bullied before, or somebody in your life creates anxiety in you and you're anticipating seeing them again. The event still hasn't happened. So that anxiety, that fear, that pressure you feel, it's real for you in this moment. You're really feeling those things. You're really having that emotional response. However, the actual physical interaction is not happening. So this is how we know, and I guess we can call this number 11, is that like your subconscious doesn't know the difference. And the same thing goes, like if you were to imagine putting a lemon on the tip of your tongue, ooh, and you can feel the pinching in your cheeks of, oh, that's sour, and you can feel your tongue clench up, and you can feel like you might even salivate a little bit thinking about it. That's because your body doesn't know that you're not actually doing that. If you imagine it vividly enough, you are going to elicit a physical, tangible response from your senses, because your subconscious doesn't know the difference. And we also know this from traumatic memories. If I go back to like one of the most traumatic experiences of my life, my body has stored that information as data in my tissues. My brain has stored it in my memory bank, and it's attached to an emotional experience as well as like a physical sensational experience. So if I were to go back and visit a painful memory, I'm gonna feel almost to the same degree that pain. And until I can acknowledge it and allow it to move through me, I'm not gonna be able to release it. So this is, I guess, I hope we're on number 11. I think we're on number 11. Don't quote me on that. Number 11 is that you are probably not going to be able to affirm your way out of trauma. At least not only affirm your way out of trauma. If something that happened to you was extremely painful, if you had an adverse childhood experience or multiple adverse childhood experiences, this includes bullying, SA, emotional neglect or abuse, like any type of really stressful situation. Maybe you were someone who experienced natural disaster, or you had to move all of a sudden and lost all of your possessions, or like your parents were chronically poor and you lived in really poor conditions, or maybe you had a parent who was sick all the time, or maybe you were sick all the time, or maybe you had medical procedures done to you that you were too young to consent to, or things like that, just things that are more than the average level of pain. Anything that causes a serious degree of emotionality in you has a tendency to get trapped if you don't have the skills to process it at the time. But here's the beautiful thing about that is you can develop the skills now, today, as the current version of you, emotional regulation and nervous system regulation. And with a practitioner in the safety of a container, of a relational container, you can work through that trauma. And this is what I did. I went to professionals, I saw a therapist, I learned how to do therapy techniques on myself. I have mentors and coaches for both business and energetics that I see when I'm struggling, and I convene now with my higher self. And since rekindling my relationship with God, I now convene with God. And so the container doesn't necessarily have to be a real live person. However, in the beginning, it should be. In the beginning, if you're working through trauma, it should be with a real life person. And I guess this is number 12. You will manifest faster and better and easier with the support of other people. You don't necessarily have to pay for that, right? Consuming YouTube videos and Instagram reels and TikToks and content from reliable teachers is one way of having a relational container with a mentor that will help you get there. However, in my experience, when I finally paid for, when I made that financial sacrifice, that investment in myself, because you're not paying them to pay them for nothing. You're not investing in them for them. Let's be honest. I love my mentor, but I'm not paying her just because I think she's awesome. I'm paying her because I think her awesomeness is going to rub off on me through what she can teach me. So when I invested in myself monetarily, and with my time and energy, that's when I started to have these breakthroughs. That is when everything changed for me. That is when I had these aha moments where I was like, mind blown, oh my goodness, like no wonder this has been so hard, because I didn't see it that way, and I didn't have the energetic safety to really open up. Because sometimes, I guess this is number 13, we lie to ourselves. We say, oh, I really want to make this amount of money, but the real truth is like, oh, I'm scared of making that much money. That sounds like a lot of work. That sounds like a big responsibility. I don't know if I trust myself with that much money, right? Because if you're like me, you were a super shopper in your youth and you racked up credit card debt and had all these like bills coming, and you're like, oops, I might be a little financially irresponsible, right? Which thankfully I've healed that. But if that has been your story, is I'm bad with money, why would you want to invite more money in? Then that begets the belief, more money, more problems. And I don't know about you, but most people don't want more problems in their life. So it just makes sense that you would subconsciously be pushing that energy of abundance away because it feels too heavy for you to hold. You don't have the capacity for it. You don't have the bandwidth for it. You don't have the skill set for it or the energetic mastery to hold space for that type of experience. And there's no shame there. We're all at our edge. Like every single one of us is at our capacity. So if you look around your life, this is your capacity. This is your capacity for relationships. This is your capacity for your mental, physical, spiritual health. This is your capacity for your finances and abundance. This is your capacity for your living quarters. You are at your capacity. How do we know? Because we all live at our capacity. We cannot live above our capacity. We can only stretch our capacity. We can grow the volume of which we can receive in this world. Which I suppose is like number 14. It's a lesson in itself, is you will never receive more than your beliefs. You can never manifest greater than what limitations you place on yourself. So if the best you can do in relationships is someone who does not prioritize you, you could break up with that dude and manifest another dude, and guess what? He's still not going to prioritize you. You could be single, and guess what? The other men in your life are still not going to prioritize you, whether that's your dad or your boss or your male friends or whatever. You're still not going to be prioritized because you have this deeper truth in you that says, I'm not a priority. And until you heal that, you cannot create the available space for your manifestation to come in. So think about it like this. If you are a jar and the jar is small, it doesn't matter what order you put things in the jar. Once the jar is full, there's no more room. So if you are at your limit of what you can receive, you can try to force and fight and like bring the 3D vision to life, but what will happen is, like, in this analogy, the jar's not going to break, but you're going to have to sacrifice something else. So this is what happens if you find yourself in this loop. Let me know if you resonate with this, because this is something that I realized for myself. If I was really good financially, my relationship went to shit. If I was really good with my relationship, I had no money. If I had managed to have my money and my relationship all good, my health would fall apart, or my relationship with my friends or family would fall apart, or my car would break down, and like just all of these things, because I was at my goodness level. I was at my goodness capacity. Like, life was not allowed to be more good than this. And it didn't matter what was going right or wrong in my life. Once I hit my goodness level, my subconscious mind was like, okay, that's it. Something has to go. We cannot fit more goodness in this jar. The jar is full. Like, we cannot cram more goodness in the jar. It's full, it's capped, there's no fighting that. And until I decided to get a bigger jar, to stretch my capacity to hold abundance, to stretch my capacity to be grateful, to hold good things, no matter how much I forced and fought and did the techniques, I could not hold those manifestations. Which brings me into, I guess, like the 14th lesson now, which is like, your limitations are a choice. You're allowing yourself to have those limitations. Let's say, like, okay, I have a perfect example, which is kind of ironic, but if you've seen a few of my videos in the past, I've been talking about how, like, pasta and I don't agree, that they don't, like, pasta upsets my stomach, and I was like, I'd heard something about pasta being made in Italy is better for you, and then I looked at the products that we have, and all of the pasta was made in Italy, so I'm like, oh, that's confusing. Maybe it's a fresh pasta versus prepped pasta thing. I don't know. That's besides the point. But for a long time I said, pasta upsets my stomach. And what I realized is, it's actually not the pasta, it's what I was eating the pasta with. But as long as I held the belief that pasta itself upsets my stomach, that became my reality. So when I stopped saying it, when I stopped putting that limitation on myself, I stopped experiencing those physical symptoms. The other thing too is, like, people who say, like, oh, well, I'll never get the job because I'm not qualified. That's your assumption. That's your belief. You're choosing that. You're giving yourself permission to believe that, so it must be your reality. If you believe, like, if you put faith into your limitations become your reality, because that's how this whole manifesting thing works. And I know I'm really excited, and I'm trying to get all of these lessons out, because we're already at 34 minutes. So my apologies, but I really want to share all of this in one video because it's so important. Your limitations manifest just as well as your desires. That's number 14, 10, 4. Your limitations manifest just as easily, just as well as your desires. And in fact, your limitations might even manifest better than your desires because they feel safe in your nervous system. And let's go into number 15. Any coach who tells you that your nervous system doesn't matter when you manifest is ill-informed, is just trying to get you to buy their course, or didn't have the personal experience to speak on the struggle, okay? Maybe they understand nervous system regulation on a surface level, but they've never experienced it, and that's what's leading them to believe that. But I know this from my own experience, and I am a psychology major. So I know this from the study, and I'm just obsessed with this stuff. I love psychology, I love philosophy, I love neuroscience. I'm into it all. So I've watched thousands of hours of content on manifesting, on the nervous system, on emotional regulation, on like psychotherapy, CBT, on the communication between the mind and the body. And here's the thing, and I made a video about this. Most of the information comes from body to brain, and only 20% comes from brain to body. So if you think about it, your nervous system, most of the data is coming from your physical sensations up to your brain. Your brain then interprets it and then passes down any data that it needs to pass down. So when your nervous system is dysregulated, and this goes back to the container concept, your nervous system is your container basically. And the capacity that your nervous system has to hold and be safe holding, because that's the thing. We have been conditioned through millennia, like all the way since the beginning of time, we've been wired and conditioned for survival. Safe, alive, and connected to your family of origin. Or as Jane Isadora says it, safe, alive, and connected to your tribe, okay? That is what we associate safety with. Oftentimes, being connected to your tribe or connected to your family of origin means you have to be relatable to them. And this is what I know a lot of you on your healing journey will notice is you'll start to level up, and it's your family that will shame you. You start to lose weight, and it's your family that's like trying to make fun of you for the diet that you're on because they're all overweight, and like they just want to bring you down. And it's so heartbreaking, and like stuff, you know, like I don't want to put that out there for anybody, but I've lived it. I know what that feels like. I know what it's like to have family be like, you're eating that? Like, what? Why are you doing this? And I was just trying to take care of my body and take care of my health. The other thing people fear, and this is really big with money, is people fear, oh, if I have too much money, I won't be relatable. All my friends will not, they'll stop liking me. My family will reject me because I just won't be able to relate to them. While that is a story, it is a fear that comes from this need. It is a physical need to be safe. It is a psychological need to be safe. It is a physiological need. Our nervous system needs safety. Now, here's the tricky part. I guess we can call this number 16. What your nervous system defines as safe does not mean it's healthy, okay? I felt safe in toxic relationships because that's all I knew. Were those toxic relationships healthy for me? No. No. I wish I could shake those years of my life like an Etch-a-Sketch. I was so unhappy. I was so depressed. I was so anxious. I was in so much pain in those stages of my life. But my subconscious said, this is what we know. And what we know feels safer than what we don't know. And I guess we can call this number 16, which is that your body is going to choose that illusion of safety, that illusion of comfort, until you convince yourself that it is equally safe to do this thing. And that might require you to take courageous action, to like do things that scare you, to put yourself in slightly uncomfortable situations, like being vulnerable, opening up, sharing your story, hiring a mentor, talking to a manifestation coach, opening up in a manifestation group, asking questions that maybe make you feel nervous, or like asking for help can be really hard. It can trigger your like sense of being unsafe. But once you convince your mind that it is equally safe, think about it like this. If you're stepping on like lily pads, and one lily pad to another, like, or like just on a bridge, right? If you're on a bridge and you're stepping, you're not going to lift that back foot off until you trust that this foot is secure, and then you feel safe to let go. And then you're going to step again, and you're going to trust that this foot is secure, and then you're going to let that go. That's how manifestation works. Once your brain is convinced that it is equally safe, equally steady, equally stable, equally comfortable, not necessarily comfortable, but safe enough for you to let go of the past and put your foot forward, that's when the transition happens. That's when the shift happens. When you've convinced yourself it is safe to make this next move, it is safe to be this new version of myself, it is safe to accept this kind of love, it is safe to hold this kind of money, it is safe to receive this kind of gift, it is safe to receive this affirmation, this love, this affection, this attention, whatever it is that you're receiving. Once you feel it is equally safe, that's when it comes in. So it has almost nothing to do with desire. Desire is just like the gas in the tank that gets you there. This brings me to number 17, and we are 40 minutes into the video, so I'm going to call it at that, and 17 is the wish fulfillment number. So yeah, the bridge of incidents is made up. You made it up, and you made it up to feel safe. And just like that analogy, okay, when you're think about a rope bridge, and I really like, all of you millennials are gonna understand this. I really like that scene in Shrek where Shrek is like bouncing and swinging on the rope bridge, and Donkey's like backing up, and he's so scared. He's like, I'm gonna die. And then he realizes, and he looks around, he's like, oh, I'm not on the bridge anymore. That is the best freaking analogy for what manifestation feels like. Your nervous system, your emotions, your subconscious, your thoughts, like everything is like panicking. It's like, I'm gonna die. This feels so unsafe. This feels so new. This feels so foreign. I gotta push it away. I gotta reject it, right? But then there's like the higher self, or in this case, Shrek, who is like the version of you who's like, dude, you're fine. You're gonna be fine. Sis, you're fine. Like, you got this. You're gonna get there. And by the time you get there, you're gonna be like, oh, it wasn't even that scary. It wasn't even that bad. Every step that you take on that bridge of incidents, and the more steps there are on your bridge of incidents, it's just you trying to keep you safe. So if your journey is unfolding and it's taking a lot of steps, if you're getting excited over every text message and every small date and every time he buys you flowers and every time he says one nice thing to you, that's okay. Let yourself be on the bridge. That's okay. It's okay. I don't care if your bridge is 1,000 steps long. You just have to know that as long as you keep stepping into what feels safe next, and you continue to persist in that, and you continue to put one foot in front of the other, like, you're gonna get your manifestation. It is inevitable. And if you don't want 100 steps on your bridge, you don't have to have 100 steps on your bridge. You can imagine yourself already on the other side, and whatever steps happen, it's just a natural unfolding, and it should be fun and beautiful and exciting. Like, I remember when I was manifesting my husband to be my husband, and I would look at his legs, because I don't know what it is, okay, but I like his legs. I like the way they look, and so every time I would see his legs, I'm like, those are my husband's legs. My husband has nice legs. Or like, I was working at the time, and I'd be driving home, and there's this Beyonce audio, I don't know if you've seen it, but she's like, and I am on to see my husband. I'm happy to see my husband. And I would sing that on my way home, driving to his place, driving to his home, saying, that is my husband. I'm seeing my husband. I'm coming home to my husband. I did buy a decoy ring that I wore for a while, because I was like, I liked having it as a totem. I'm like, that's my ring. I'm a married woman and I love it. You don't have to do that, okay? You don't have to go that far and be that delulu. I did it because I really don't care what people think about me, and it made it fun for me, and I was excited and I liked it. It felt good, okay? Never once did I look and go, oh, it's so sad that I'm not married. No, I would look at it and go, yeah, I'm married to the love of my life. So yeah, I know I'm being so goofy in this video. I'm just having a good day, okay? But yes, I didn't care how many steps were on my bridge, and I didn't care how many times it looked like a step was broken and I had to back off and I had to take another leap forward, right? I did not care what my bridge looked like. I just let it look like what it looked like, and I imagined myself on the other side. And the bridge of incidents is there for your safety. The bridge is there because I want you to imagine that every human being has the capability of walking through the air. Like the same way Jesus walked on water, Isa walked on water. Isa walked on water because he, in his mind, was like, I can walk on water. I know I can walk on water. I have faith that I can walk on water. God is moving through me. Allah is moving through me and allowing me to walk on water. Therefore, I am walking on water because I am. Okay? If we were to be so convinced in our minds that we could too walk on water, or walk from, like, let's say there's a cliff and there's a big gap between the cliff, like a big ravine, we're on one side of the cliff going to the other. If we convinced ourselves that we could walk on air to get there, we could quite literally manifest that. I fully believe that we could. I just don't think any of us is bold enough to try. I don't think any of us has that superpower of a mind yet. Maybe it'll happen one day. But that's what the bridge is for. The bridge is safety. The bridge is what we allow ourselves to believe in so that we can get there. On my faith journey, and I know we're 46 minutes into the video, I'm getting there, okay? You're gonna sit with me because this is 2 years worth of lessons in one video, okay? On that bridge of incidents, the best thing you can do for yourself is have faith that your prayer is being answered. That every step you're taking was divinely designed for you to experience so that you could safely and joyfully make it to the next step. So that you could safely and joyfully experience this world. So that you could safely and joyfully be yourself. And instead of complaining about how long it's taking, how big the bridge is, instead of complaining about how many broken steps there are, about how many times you've stepped forward and then had to step back, or whatever you're buying into, whatever beliefs and assumptions you're buying into, instead of that, you could say, wow, like, God is such an amazing designer of my life. Allah has perfectly written my story to make sure that my heart is protected, to make sure that I am fulfilled, to make sure that I am moving through life authentically. Like, and every experience, every hardship is cleansing me. It is cleansing me of my sins. And for those of you who don't know, to sin means to miss the mark. And to miss the mark doesn't mean that you've committed a horrible atrocity and that you're a bad person. It means you missed the mark. That's all it means. Don't read into it. It's like when you go to step on the stairs and you slip and you're like, you have that mini heart attack. Been there many times before. You just missed the mark. But then what do you do next? You just put one foot in front of the other, okay? So when you're going through hardship and difficulty, I want you to understand that it is just your sins being corrected. You missed the mark and Allah is putting you back on the path. You went right when you should have gone left. God is just making sure you're going left now. It's so perfect. It is so divinely designed, and if you don't get it now, you're just not there yet on your journey, and that's okay. That's okay. But if you resonate with this, like, please let me know, because there's really no better way to explain this to people. Is you will know when you're on the right path. Like, I am at a stage in my life where I know I'm on the right path. I know what I've decided to do in business is what I'm supposed to do. I know that the changes I've made to my physical health is what I'm supposed to do. I know that the version of me that is showing up as I am now is who I'm supposed to be. I know that whatever it is I'm manifesting, I'm already on the right path. I'm already exactly where I'm supposed to be because I said so, because I'm giving myself permission to believe that. And whatever the bridge of incidents looks like, however my story unfolds from here, I'm at peace with it because I know it is inevitable that I get what I want. And not because I'm this spoiled brat, which, video for another day, okay? We celebrate being a spoiled brat here because, yeah, my God is abundant. Of course I should be spoiled. I'm a good person. Of course I should be spoiled. I take accountability for when I mess up. Of course I should be spoiled. I'm a good person. I'm a wonderful human being. I'm doing my best. Of course I deserve to be spoiled. Anyways, I want you to take away from this video that your journey, your life is the best it could possibly be. And I say that as someone who's went through real hardship. So don't look at me like I'm crazy and think, oh, but you don't get it, this circumstance, my parents, my partner, my friends, my teachers, my boss, my neighbor, blah, 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 blah. I don't care. I have been essayed, I have been emotionally neglected, emotionally manipulated, I have been through financial hardship, I've been houseless, I've been, I've had thoughts of quitting the game, if you know what I mean. I have had to take medication at times in my life. I've had times where I felt like I didn't have any friends or family who really cared about me, except maybe my dad. My dad's been there, he's solid. And my sister, my baby sister. But even then, there were times where I pushed them away because I didn't feel, I couldn't believe that they loved me. I couldn't believe that I didn't feel worthy and deserving of their love and attention and affection and support and all of that. So I pushed it away. But yeah, I say all of that to say, if me, little old Aisha, I'm just a human being, I'm just a girl, could get through the toughest experiences of my life and still be here with a smile on my face, you know that manifestation works. It really works. This is real life. This is real. And you can too. It doesn't matter how crazy the circumstances are. It does not matter. It does not matter. And the more that you complain about your circumstances, the more you manifest them, okay? So instead of complaining, we're gonna flip through the book and go to the end and read the happily ever after lines, and we're going to say, thank you, God. Thank you for this beautiful story you've written for me. Thank you for making like literally the best movie I could ever watch, because it's had so many plot twists. I could not have predicted the ending. Oh my goodness. That's how you want to feel. Trust that the lessons you are learning are taking you where you need to be. Trust that the people coming in and out of your life are the people that are being moved, orchestrated by God, by Source, by the creator of all things, the Lord of all lords. Like, he's orchestrating all of this. He, like, you know, it's like a little chessboard. He's moving all the pawns in the way they're supposed to be so that the queen gets to where she needs to be, okay? He is divinely writing this story for your benefit, and if you don't choose to believe that, I can't help you. No one can help you. So double down on that. Double down on, like, it's already happening for you. It's already yours. Whatever it is that you want, it's coming. It's on its way. Kick back, relax, chill out, cross your feet, okay? I want you to just be in ease, be in play, be in this fun mode. Love yourself, put a smile on your face, be grateful for every little thing that you have, and more will come to you. I promise you that. If you have stuck around, thank you so much. I love all of you. I've had such an amazing adventure. I'm kind of heartbroken. Like, I feel a little bit sad that I'm not gonna be doing the Who Is She brand anymore, because that was my pride and joy. It was my my business baby, right? But what I'm doing in Soulfull is far more profound. What I'm doing with Soulfull is deeper. It is more raw. It is more real. I'm being more vulnerable and honest than I ever have been able to before, and that's because I've reached a level of security within myself and confidence within myself in my skill set as a practitioner to be able to be this version for you and to be able to pull my vision down into the 3D and manifest it like a pro. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I will catch you all in the next one. Bye.